Zach Wheeler says he's going to retire in like 2.5 years. Ohtani's back on the mound. Aaron Judge becomes the first player this season to get 100 hits. Also, Devers got traded. That feels notable. My name's Josh. This is America's pitching coach. It's Justin Arth, just back from the links. Back from playing some golf, maybe. Sunburned as ever, but he's a trooper. Getting through it today. And this is your episode of Baseball Adjacent. Justin, so much has happened this week. And before we get into it, I got to ask the people, hey, like and subscribe. Send this to a friend. Send this to an enemy. If you hate us, send it to somebody that you hate. Just help spread the podcast in some way. Subscribe, and you can unsubscribe later if you're like, never mind, these guys actually suck. But Justin, so much has happened this week. Like so
It
much.
has. This has been like a week of baseball that is kind of like the fever dream for anyone that loves baseball news. Like a lot of craziness has happened, a lot of drama has happened. You got a lot of teams kind of starting to ascend and do well. You've got a lot of teams that we thought would be doing well, and actually they're good teams, but not playing so well. So then there's storylines. So yeah, baseball season, or at least this week of baseball, really topsy-turvy, and we'll have a lot to talk about.
That is true. We should start, I think, with the story of the week. Rafael Devers got traded from Boston to San Francisco. If you want 30 minutes on that topic, we have a video and it's right above my head, the link. I'll put it there. You can click on it. You can hear us talk all about it. We're not going to talk for 30 minutes about it right now because we've already done that. But more stuff has come out. Devers saying that he'll play anywhere in his opening press conference is pretty funny to me. It just feels like a backhanded, hey, I'll do whatever, but, screw the Red Sox kind of vibe. That's at least what I got from it.
Oh yeah. They play each other on Friday, so I really hope to God he's playing first base in that lineup card on Friday night. I don't care where he plays in the other games that he's played already for San Francisco, but no, he better be playing first base so he can talk to every single one of those Red Sox, look right into the Red Sox dugout, and like, hey, I'm playing first. I don't like you, Craig Breslow.
I do wonder how much beef there is because it feels like most of his beef or most of his problems have been with the front office. I don't
That's
know
true.
like how much back and forth there's going to be really. The only person that I've heard him have a problem with is I think it was Christian Campbell when he was like, "Hey, I'll play first." And
Yeah.
Devers didn't like that very much. Uh
Devers doesn't want to be shown up.
for sure. And I think that's fair. I did see the report and I wanted to ask you about this. uh, Devers was willing to play first, but he wanted the Red Sox to commit to him as like the full time first baseman long term, and Boston wasn't prepared to do that. To me, if that's true, and again, there's a lot of like hurt feelings here, so you don't know what's true, what side's what. Even from the Red Sox side, like, is what they're saying 100% true? I don't know. Is what Devers saying 100% true? I don't know, but something in the middle. But if that is true, if he just wanted them, he would do it, but he wanted the commitment that he would play first, that doesn't feel like the most unreasonable ask of a guy that you're paying a lot of money for a lot of years for.
Yeah, it doesn't seem unreasonable at all, but you also have to look at like who they've got at first base. Like if you have Tristan Casas, who again, Rafi Devers versus Tristan Casas, Tristan Casas isn't Rafi Devers. Rafi Devers is still a ton better, but Rafi's never been a great defensive player to begin with. He was one of the worst third basemen in baseball in terms of defensive metrics whenever he did play third base. So who's to say that that would have been better at first base? I mean, obviously it's maybe a little easier position to play. Any first baseman out there I'm not trying to say your position's the easiest to play, but it is
Yeah.
significantly easier to play than some of the other positions in the field. But there's no guarantee the defense is going to be better. Offense is always going to be there with Rafi. But I don't know. You have Tristan Casas there. He's young enough where you feel like you can at least commit a good couple of years while he's still pre-arb and arbitration eligible. And yeah, I understand you're paying Rafi a lot of money, but I don't know. I think he's either a third baseman, which again, terrible defensively, which is why Alex Bregman's there, and he looks more projectable to be a DH anywhere he goes at this point.
Yeah, there is. I think there is a world that he's a semi-successful-ish first baseman where he can at least be a league average defensive first baseman. I'll cite like there just are guys over there that you don't think of as great defensive guys, but they hold it down at least enough where it's you can withstand that for a season, especially if the bat plays like Devers does. I think about like historically, I mean David Ortiz when he's playing in the field, he's playing first base. Jason Giambi the same way, and I don't think we're under the illusion that any of those guys are world class defenders. I mean, I watched enough Jason Giambi Oakland ball when I was young to know that that was not true. So if you're gonna have a weak glove, that's kind of the place to have it. I don't know. I think there's a lot of hurt feelings. I think there's a lot of bad communication on both sides, if we're all honest with ourselves, that just caused this whole thing. And at the end of the day, the Red Sox, they traded a guy that there's a shot his number would have gotten retired, right? If he stays through that contract and
Yep.
he has a a 1.0 OPS over 8 years, which I think we all think is at least in the realm of possibility. That's another guy you traded away, along with like Mookie Betts, and you know, it's just like it
Letting
happens
Xander
over and
Bogarts
over
walk.
again, and it's tough if you're a Boston fan. Like I feel for you.
It is tough, and I feel for Boston fans. I mean, hey, I'm a Braves fan. I've seen it happen twice with two free agents walking away. But yeah, it's tough. But I think that team still looks pretty good, and we'll see how Boston continues to shape their roster now that Rafi Devers is gone. The Giants obviously have a amazing offensive weapon.
We'll see. We'll see how it all shakes out. Again, if you want more on that, we have an entire 30-minute video. The link is actually right above my head right now. You can click on it if you're like, I want more of that. Let's talk about, though.
It was our live reactions too, so make sure you go check it out if you want the live reaction. I know
Yeah,
everybody wants live reactions these days.
everybody loves a good live reaction. That feels like, to transition a little bit, that feels like that's going to be the big trade of the year that everybody remembers, and it's not even a deadline trade. If you're the Giants, I mean, everybody, right, needs a pitcher. So, like, if somebody comes knocking and they're like, hey, let's go out, let's get Sandy Alcantara or whatever, I don't think anybody's saying no to that. But that does feel like if you're the Giants, you're like, all right, that was the move. Let's go try to win the West now or get into the dance and let's make a deep playoff run.
They've got holes on the pitching side of it, especially after giving up two guys. Now, obviously, Hicks was hurt recently, and he hasn't been in the rotation. And when he has, it's gone well. Kyle Harrison was still kind of iffy, but he's at least someone who's young and becoming a mainstay there. But yeah, I mean, there's holes to fill on that San Francisco Giants team. But with the offense, you look at 1 through 9, that offense looks really, really good. And they can go compete with the LA Dodgers. They can compete with the San Diego Padres. And the Arizona Diamondbacks are always kind of still hanging around. And you could compete with them. You were already competing with them. So I do think they're putting themselves in a really strong buy now candidacy to go get guys like a Zach Eflin or maybe Sandy Alcantara. Obviously, that is maybe your cheaper long term option if you want to get somebody in that rotation. Maybe not for this year, but for the future with this core that you now have in San Francisco with guys locked down for a little bit. But no, I definitely see them being in the market for starting pitching heavily. And they might be the team that determines where a lot of these starting pitching chips start falling once anyone decides they want to start making trade moves outside of this one big deal due to obviously Boston's ownership issues with Rafi.
Yeah, I mean, like every team, we said, like if you're a contender and you're like, oh yeah, like we need a starting pitcher, it's like, yeah, same, dude. Like everybody needs a starting pitcher. Everybody wants a power lefty out of the pen. Cough, cough, Chapman, cough, cough. Everybody, like, if you're
Mm-hmm.
adding a bullpen arm, you're like, yeah, we'll take that or a bat. But I don't know. This just feels like this is the biggest piece. I do feel comfortable saying that that's going to move this season. So
Yep.
I think it's a big win for the Giants. We'll like half transition away and then half transition back to Devers. I think the other part is reports came out that maybe they didn't fully shop him and they,
Yep.
they talked to Atlanta, they talked to the Giants. There's a couple of other teams involved in that, but didn't feel like the whole league was put on alert of like, hey, this trade is like actually happening, And I know the like Braves, the rumor at least of what the
The
Braves
rumor of report.
offered, if you want to say that. But
Yeah. So what I've heard was offered. We didn't hear who the pitching prospects were, but there were four players in a deal that was talked about, and it's unclear on whether the Braves and Alex Anthopoulos hung up the phone or if Boston was like, "That's not enough." But it was Sean Murphy, Marcell Ozuna, and then you have two of your pitching prospects. That could have been Didier Fuentes. He's been amazing right now. He just got promoted to AAA. He's a 19-year-old flamethrower. He's amazing. But you've got like Luke Berhalter. You've got obviously Hurston Waldrop, and you've got a couple arms there. I'm of the camp of I want Sean Murphy around with Drake Baldwin. I don't see a reason to get rid of him.
I would say to that, like, if you're the Braves, right, and they took 2 out of 3 from the Mets as we record this, and I think they're back to 6 games
Hopefully
under.
throughout.
Yeah, I think they're back to 6 games under, and you're like, man, if you're a Braves fan, you're like, man, if that bad start hadn't happened, where would we be now? But even if you take out the 0 and
Well, it's not
7,
even a bad start. We've gone 0-7 twice.
yeah, if you take out the 0 and 7s, which it's like, yeah, man, if you took out every team's win streak, they'd be better. But if you take out the 0 and 7 to start the year, you're what? You're still 1 game over 500, and that's still not like an incredible team. So is this like hey, maybe go get uh restock a little bit with Ozuna and the expiring contract and stuff? It would be something that I would think about. But you mentioned earlier via text, AA said where they're not going to be sellers. And what do you think about that? Like as a Braves fan?
I mean, obviously, knowing this team has a competitive window that I still believe that they are in, I'm still kind of confused at why we saw the 2024 and now the 2025 we're seeing. I don't want to 100% say it's leadership like some people say. I don't want to 100% throw Snitker under the bus. I think it's just a combination of a lot of different things. But that's not why this isn't the Braves rant here. This is just kind of my opinions here. I'm glad the team is still trying to put a competitive product out there. Maybe they're just trying to steal my money and keep 41,000 people in the seats, knowing that they have a good team that people want to come out and see, especially if they're competitive. So you want to make them feel like they're competitive. But either way, I think this team can get hot. I think this team can still make a run. But you're at a point now where every win matters, every game matters. And you could obviously add to that. I mean, the pitching's there. The back half of the bullpen needs help. Maybe need another a shot in the arm offensively. I mean, Ronald Acuna's doing it almost single-handedly. Austin Riley's kind of quietly doing well. Matt Olson is kind of turning it around quietly, but just not as consistently. So you're seeing guys in that offense start to produce a little bit. But it does need another jolt in the arm to be more consistent. I mean, I'm glad that it seems like they will be buyers at the deadline, but it may not be the best for the long-term future of the Atlanta Braves because you could cash in on a Marcell Ozuna. You could cash in on maybe like an Aaron Bummer and getting rid of that contract and knowing that he is an impact lefty that could help somebody else in a different situation. So if this stretch of games against the Mets that we've now taken 2 out of 3 out of as of recording, and then the Marlins, Mets for 4, Phillies for 3. Like, depending on how this kind of 2-week stretch goes, I really do think it determines the season. And that's where Alex Anthopoulos kind of coming out now and saying, we're not going to be sellers. We are going to be buyers. We are going to compete for this. This is a team. I don't know if a lot of that is just the typical Alex Anthopoulos smokescreen that you get to then figure out the truth later when you wake up at 1 a.m. with a Braves notification and you just traded for 3 outfielders that ended up helping you win a World Series, or now you've like shipped off half the team for a boatload of prospects that you've never heard existed or something.
I think right now, I think you've nailed it on the head of this 2 weeks kind of determines what you're going to do at the deadline. I think if I think I have a much different take on the Braves season, maybe, or at least their current situation. If AA comes out and is like, "Hey, we don't know what we're gonna do at the deadline yet. We have a pretty crucial 2 weeks of games, and this kind of determines it." At least that's like a real answer, which I know you don't get out of front offices very often at this point, right? So it's like, well, yeah, dude, just blatantly lie to your fans' faces and be like, no, we're not, we are 100% not selling, which there's no way that's true. You're telling me there's no package you wouldn't take tomorrow for Marcell Ozuna? I think I'd have a much different outlook if it's like, hey, we don't know if we're selling or not. Because there's no player besides, okay, let's phrase it this way. Besides like Ronald Acuna, I don't think there's an untouchable player on the Braves roster where if somebody gave you an offer right now, just like that blew you away, that you wouldn't move. I'll cite like a Marcell Ozuna or like a Sean Murphy if you really believe
Yep.
in Drake Baldwin. Not that you don't want Sean Murphy on your team, but at some point, if Drake Baldwin's the guy, that kind of means Sean Murphy's not going to be the guy. And that's a lot of money to pay a catcher that's not going to be the guy, you know? So
Yeah.
I, there's very few in baseball, I feel like, not to get philosophical on you, but just like there's like 10 untouchable players in the league. The Braves happen to have one with Ronald Acuna, where you're not
Yep.
moving him no matter what at this point. There's outside of like the Dodgers hitting you up and you're like, hey, Ohtani for Acuna 1-for-1, which like wouldn't happen. Like Acuna's not moving, right? But it would be
Yeah.
something that I would think about to be like, hey, this season didn't go well. We're going to retool and we'll try again next year with maybe a different players because it doesn't feel like this set of players is performing well. And I kind of think that, not to like whiplash away from this quickly, but about Baltimore. If you're Baltimore and you have guys like that the contract is expiring. And I know you have Charlie Morton on a 1 year deal that you're not doing anything with Charlie Morton this season. The season's done. If you're Baltimore, like it's dead. Like if you're a Baltimore fan and I just like ruined the baseball season for you, I'm sorry, but it's probably not a playoff team for you guys. So like
Yeah.
trade some guys and retool and make this the season where it's like, yeah, that didn't go well, but we made a couple of deals, and now we're like World Series champions in 3 years because that kind of feels like the way it's going. I think that's kind of what the Braves should do as like a fairly uninterested third party, but I don't know. I think there's guys that you could move, and it wouldn't hurt the product that much if we're honest.
Just think a lot of these contracts are, yes, they're very movable contracts, especially some of the smaller long-term deal guys like your Michael Harris's and things like that. But in reality, I look at the roster in particular, and I think there's three untouchables, and that's Matt Olson, Ronald Acuna Jr., and Austin Riley. Like those are the three big guys. Those are the three that are your core at the very minimum. And there might be conversations for others, but again, I still feel like anyone on the bigger contracts is still untouchable for that. So yeah, if you want to sell off Alex Verdugo, if you want to sell off maybe a reliever or two that do have some big money attached to them for an extra year or two, by all means do that. But just being a guy that watches the Braves every single day, I don't see a world where they even really trade Marcell Ozuna. They'd, I think, rather just have him walk in free agency and try to figure out what they're going to do at DH, which might be the way to keep Sean Murphy and Drake Baldwin in the
Yeah.
future.
Let's transition segue here from a couple of teams in Baltimore and Atlanta that are struggling for the whole season to some teams that are struggling right now that maybe shouldn't be. Well, I guess you could argue the Nats maybe should be. Sorry, Jake. The Nats have lost 10 in a row. The Yankees haven't scored in what feels like a month. I believe they did score tonight, but I think they set the MLB record in consecutive innings like without scoring, which that's a team that's good enough not to do that. It feels like to me. It's just things are it's the dog days of summer, but it's really not because we're not really in the thick of summer yet. But I guess we'll start with the Yankees because that feels more interesting. What's going on there? Like, are they just cold? Or is
It feels like just the bats are cold right now, and maybe I'll coin the phrase here is that I think Rafi Devers might have put a curse on them when he hit that homer being traded. I mean, just the bats have gone completely cold. The pitching, to my knowledge, has still kind of been there. It's kept them in
yeah,
games, but they're just not scoring any runs. They're not really hitting very well either, and any like we're just a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 2 episodes ago, we're over here talking like Aaron Judge is the next Barry Bonds, and this is going to be the greatest season since Barry Bonds. And again, I still believe that one
yeah,
cold week's not going to pull that conversation away from it. But the team that has Aaron Judge, the one that we're having this conversation about, can't seem to hit right now. And I have seen some Yankee Twitter brass kind of go back and forth with like Anthony Volpe and like the strikeout that ended the game with bases
yeah.
loaded or whatever it was, or the run on third, or no, the ground out to third base that ended the game and things like that. It's like, all right. They're going through a cold patch. It's kind of what we said about the Philadelphia Phillies last episode. If you guys are watching, it's like they're a good enough team. They'll pull themselves out of it. This just happens to be probably the worst week of the 2025 season for the New York Yankees. And next week they'll probably go 6-0 or 6-1 if they play 7 games or something. And then
Yeah.
you'll forget about this week even happening. And Jazz Chisholm will hit 30 home runs in 1 week and set an MLB record there. And be all
And then you're
flashy and
back.
everything, and
Season's
Aaron
back
Judge will
on.
just hit another 40 bombs. It's just typical small ballpark. Like it's typical small ballpark fashion. Like they'll be
Yeah.
fine.
It'll be okay. I mean, I don't think either of us are like, hey, the Yankees season is over. Like, cancel the season for the
I mean,
Yankees. But I
how?
do think it's worth like, man, this is like historically bad from a team that
Yeah, I
really
mean
you
it is
wouldn't think would be.
historically bad, but hey, you're at the bottom, and you still have what, like a 3 or 4 game lead in the AL East. Like they're fine.
Yeah,
They're fine.
Tampa's creeping up. Not that Tampa's gonna take it, but Tampa's now like in the rear view mirror. They're a long way back. They're not that far back, but like they're not close, but
They're at
they're
least making the
there.
Yankees think about, hey, should we have rented that spring training facility to them?
Yeah, they're aware. They're like there. They're close enough for the Yankees to be aware of them. It is odd to me though. Judge just the other night had his 100th hit, and he's the first guy in MLB this season to get to 100 hits. Stanton's back in the lineup. And you hear those two things and you're like, man, the Yankees must be kind of killing it right now. And they just are not. And it's as unfortunate as it is, it's a little funny. You're like, man, our biggest rival just traded away their biggest piece. Judge has 100 hits. We are in the middle of June. Stanton's back, and we cannot buy offense. We cannot buy a game right now. And it's tough. And they've run into the team that's done that to them, at least a bulk of it, has been the Angels. And I think you would maybe feel better about it if that was happening against like I a team with a pretty cracked pitching rotation. But I mean, we're talking
Yeah,
about
like
Kyle
if
Hendricks
Mr.
blanked
Detroit
them for like
Tigers.
6 innings yesterday. So
Yeah.
it's not. It's just going bad. Times are tough out in New York, as tough as they can be with a team that's like 20 games over 500. I guess we'll go. Let's go sidebar here. Unplanned sidebar. Justin's favorite. Who do you think is like the most complete team in the MLB right now. Like as it stands right now, middle of June, June 18 as we record this. Best all around full team.
Got to go the Detroit Tigers. I mean,
Okay.
that pitching rotation is stout 1 through 5. And yes, I'm biased on one of them. I know Sawyer Gibson Long, so I'm adding that in. But either way, they're stout 1 through 5. And Sawyer's actually not been pitching bad since he debuted. So, but the offense is clicking on all cylinders. Like I just picked up Javi Baez in fantasy, and he's kind of been going off for me the last day or two. So again, Javi Baez is actually we've made a short about it. So go check out the Instagram.
Yep.
But Javi Baez is kind of performing like Javi Baez of like 2016 for like one random season. Now that he's playing the outfield a bit more, and
Yep.
yeah, I mean Zach McKinstry, and they're having a lot of guys and like Riley Green and a bunch of characters that maybe don't appear to be like the main character. It's a bunch of like side characters and the
Yeah.
background characters doing a lot of work, but they're doing it for the Detroit Tigers. And I think right now, just based off of performance alone, and obviously you can look at record and that shows it. I think right now they are the most complete team in baseball. Like obviously the easy low hanging fruit is the Los Angeles Dodgers, but almost every pitcher in that staff right now seems to be hurt. Shohei Ohtani is back, but only pitched an inning. Clayton Kershaw's still kind of working his way. He's obviously been pitching, but he's still working his way back to being kind of Clayton Kershaw. But no, it's Dodgers are obviously the easy low hanging fruit, but no, like just looking at performances, it's still got to be the Detroit Tigers right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the other ones, like you said, I think the Dodgers are a pretty complete team, with the asterisk of like the pitchers that they expect to get back by the end of the season
Yep.
would be the caveat to that, because I don't think right now anybody's looking at that rotation that they're kind of having to like piece together a little bit, which is crazy to say because it's like you have 800 pitchers. How do you not have five healthy ones? But that's kind of where
Yeah.
they're at least currently. But yeah, the Tigers, I would kind of agree. They're like an underdog story a little bit, at least. I think Tigers fans are like, no, we kind of expected this, which okay, you did not expect to like be this good.
Yeah, you
Uh
expected to maybe lead the AL Central, but you didn't expect to be the best record in baseball.
yeah. So it could go, I think it's the Tigers are probably that team. I think they're probably the most complete team.
Right now, they are.
Yeah. The Dodgers, I mean, there's a case to be made. You could even really make a case for a healthy Phillies team in like a
That
three-game
is true.
series. They got like three guys and a pretty stacked lineup if everybody's kind of going.
Yep.
So it's an
Get Jose
interesting,
Alvarado back.
yeah. I think about that question more than I should, probably, just in my personal life, but thought I'd ask it, just see what your thoughts were as we stand right now. We should talk about, because it came up briefly, Ohtani pitched the other day.
He did.
First time in 2 years, 2 seasons, basically, that he's done that. It didn't go incredibly, but it also didn't like blow up in everybody's face. So I feel like
Yeah.
that part is at least kind of a win, but it wasn't like he came back and shut out the Padres or whatever. I don't know. Did you watch? Have you seen the clips at least?
Yeah, I've gone back and watched clips. I mean, the good news is the velocity was there. Obviously, you look at the scorecard and it's like, what was it? The one inning, 2 hits given up in a run, and walked a guy, but then struck out a guy too. I mean, obviously, for one inning, not the cleanest inning in the world for a return, but like we were talking off camera before we started, it was something that the velocity's there, so you're happy with that. It's not like he's kind of like where, as a Braves fan, where Spencer Strider was when he came back a couple weeks ago, where the velocity's like 94, 95, and everybody's teeing off on him. At least if guys were teeing off on Ohtani, it was because he was still, again, throwing 98 miles an hour, 97 miles an hour. So velocity's there. I'm fine. But obviously, you would love the one inning of return to be a clean inning. But we have to think about this as the AAA rehab starts for him right now, because he can't go down to AAA and make rehab starts because he's hitting every single day in that lineup as a DH. So he can't get on a plane and fly to Oklahoma City and throw 4 innings and get on the plane and get back to then be first in the lineup at the
Yeah.
same game that starts at the same time. So I mean, obviously, it's good to see him back on the mound. Him being the two-way player that he is good for baseball. Obviously, there's questions that can it happen long term, but at least while we have it right now, got to enjoy it. And the fact that he's on the mound is again good for baseball. And again, pains me as a Braves fan to say that, as he is a Dodger, but it is good for baseball.
I think it's kind of great for baseball if we're honest. He's kind of I was thinking about in sports like superstars, like actual real life. These guys, when you go to a road city, people are buying tickets to watch a player like play. Like he is the one selling out a stadium. And I think he's one of maybe like two or three baseball players that is selling out games in other people's stadiums that you're like, yeah. Even the casual fans like, yeah, I'm going to go watch that guy pitch for even if it's just an inning and hit for a while. Uh I don't it there's a select few people like that and Ohtani is one of them.
As someone who was at the Braves Mets game one yesterday at the time of recording, it's a Braves Mets game. The Dodgers aren't playing, but you still saw multiple Japan Shohei Ohtani jerseys. You saw a couple Dodger Shohei Ohtani jerseys, and it's like he doesn't play for the Braves, he doesn't play for the Mets. But again, you're getting that jersey sale, you're getting that person to the ballpark because of Shohei Ohtani. So
Yeah.
he transcends baseball, and he's one of the few people in this game currently. And Aaron Judge, I think, is another. Going back to the Yankee talk, but there's a couple players that transcend baseball, and Shohei Ohtani is one of them.
Yeah. Shohei Ohtani is the closest thing baseball has right now to like an international level superstar that kind of
Absolutely.
everybody knows. And I don't think you can say that about a lot of people. I don't even know that you can say that about Judge. Like if you went to
Yeah, true.
Europe and you were like, "Hey yo, random German bro, you ever seen or heard of this guy?" There's a shot they say no, but if you're like, "Hey, have you heard of Shohei Ohtani?" There's a significantly better shot. They're like, "Yeah, actually I have heard of that guy." 'Cause
Yeah,
he just kind of transcends baseball in a way we haven't seen ever, really,
yeah.
at
We've
least not
never seen it
recently.
in baseball. I mean, you could love to say Barry Bonds potentially, but again, I still feel like that was the American audience. The last time I think an American sport had seen that has obviously been like in the NBA, like a Luka Doncic or something like that, kind of currently.
Yeah.
But to even this level of Otani, I think is really just Michael Jordan,
Yeah.
and maybe the Kobe Bryant with how the China and that kind of area of the world kind of took to Kobe. But yeah, I don't think really we've seen this since like a Michael Jordan, and it's crazy.
Yeah, it's why. I mean, you could make the argument maybe like a Tom Brady, but even that's just like America, Europe. Like, I don't know how many people, if you popped them into like Tokyo, would be like, oh my God, it's Tom Brady. They'd probably just more be like, oh my God, it's a 6'4" white guy. What's he doing here? Uh, but yeah, he's an international icon. I feel comfortable saying that, and that's
Absolutely.
something that baseball has not had for a while, if ever. Really, I mean, we could Michael Jordan played baseball, but like as a baseball player for the baseball reasons, uh, that happened.
Yeah, and again, part of the gig that he has is not only being the international superstar as an international player, but obviously he's a unicorn and special in himself because he is the only two-way player in baseball. There are other guys like a Jack Caglione and some others that kind of came up that way, or at least were drafted that way, but then were quickly like, "Oh, you're only going to be a position player. You're only going to be a PO." Like so Shohei Otani's a unicorn and one of his kind, and that adds to the not the illusion, but it adds to the mystique of Shohei Ohtani and the global superstar, because now he's doing everything, and it makes people think that, oh, baseball's so easy. If this one guy can lead off for the best team in baseball and then still go pitch 9 innings and strike out 12.
Yeah. It is wild what Ohtani is doing, and I think we'll leave that there. Ohtani, also to segue us here, the NL leader in all-star votes for the designated hitter. You like how I did that? That's called a seamless segue because I'm a professional podcaster. We're going to talk about all-star game votes here just shortly. We're going to compare some ballots, talk about maybe some other just like all-star game stuff to close us out. I guess let's go through and we'll just like go position by position, maybe compare who we each have at each spot. I think I think position by position is the way to go versus
Probably.
AL first and then NL. And we'll just go as you would see it on the ballot if you vote online. If you haven't voted online, go vote online, I guess,
Yeah,
or
just go to
don't.
your favorite team's name.com/vote. It's there.
Yep, it's there, and you can do it, and you can vote Mike Tachman into the All Star game. Let's start that. Let's make that be a thing. Uh, I guess. Well, before we do this, let's talk about the guys that have the most votes currently. And then we'll talk about who we would vote, or maybe we'll go position by position, who has the most votes. Let's do that. I'll cut all of that down into a tangible piece of media for people to watch. But let's start at first base. In the National League, the leading vote getter at the last vote getting update that the league gave us, Paul Goldschmidt leads, and this will be on the screen, but Paul Goldschmidt leads Vladimir Guerrero Jr. up in the American League. And then in the National League, it's Freddie Freeman and Pete Alonso. It's a two-horse race. I think everybody kind of knows that. Freddie Freeman
Yep.
currently has the lead. Who are your two first basemen that you would vote for right now, or that you are voting for right now?
So let me start off with the National League, because this is not what I'm actually voting, because I am voting nothing but Braves. But let me take my Braves bias out of it and be honest here. So in reality, with this vote here between Pete Alonso and Freddie Freeman, it's really, what do you like more? Do you like a guy that can still hit for solid power and get some RBIs, but he's hitting for higher average, which is Freddie Freeman? Or do you like Pete Alonso, who again is still hitting for a decently high average? It's in the 290s, especially for Pete Alonso standards,
Yep.
but is just cranking home runs left and right, winning by over, or leading the RBI total by over 20. But I guess I will go Braves bias here. I want to see Freddie Freeman, if it's not Matt Olson playing first base in Truist Park again. I'm going to be there at the stadium, so Freddie Freeman gets my vote for the first baseman of the National League. I want to be there. I want to see Freddie Freeman 5 wearing, obviously, his Dodger uniform, because they're not wearing the other uniforms that they've announced, which kind of, thank God, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
I want to see Freddie Freeman for the National League playing first base again on that bag. And being there seeing it. Now, on the American League side, I'm not picking either one of the top two guys. I am on the why am I forgetting his name now? The Joe Aranda.
Jose Aranda.
I'm on the Jose Aranda train. The dude is absolutely raking for Tampa right now. Tampa is kind of secretly kind of pushing the
Kinda
Yankees
there.
with that Yankees kind of streak that they've got going on. So, I mean, batting 329, 8 homers, 41 RBIs, and 913 OPS. It's pretty insane what Jose Aranda's doing, and I think that does deserve a nod. Obviously, the Rays are going to get somebody, and they're a good team right now, so they should probably get one or two guys into the All-Star game. But Jose Aranda is my pick at first base, even though, again, those other two guys deserve it, but maybe some of those votes are more bigger name things as opposed to straight production. So Jose Aranda, straight production for me.
Yeah, I'm voting Aranda as well for a lot of the reasons you mentioned. And then I'm going a little Mets bias, and I don't know that it's that much Mets bias because I'm going Pete Alonso at first base in the NL. For me, I mean, chicks dig the long ball, and I guess that makes me a chick. Not coming out. I'm closeted, all right? Leave me alone, internet. But I love me some home runs, and Alonso's kind of hitting them, and he's driving in runs, and that matters to me. Just as a baseball fan, the the biggest thing in baseball is driving in runs and scoring runs as your team, and then also preventing runs. And right now, Alonso is driving in runs at really a pretty unbelievable level, if
It
we're
is insane
honest.
right now. Yeah.
He's kind of out of his mind. He's at 63 as we record this, which probably puts him on pace to be at like 150 if he continues on this pace by the end of the year, which that would be crazy. And so for that reason alone, I'm going Pete Alonso. Not that Freddie Freeman maybe doesn't deserve it, but I do think there is like a 1A, 1B, like both of these guys could win and it would be good. But
Yeah.
to your point, I think seeing Freddie Freeman start in Atlanta would be cool for baseball and for the city of Atlanta. Let's go over to the NL. I have a feeling we both picked Ketel Marte at second base in the National League. Is that true?
Absolutely. Love me some Ketel Marte.
He's dominating on the fantasy team. Shout out. Thank you, Ketel. Who do you have in the American League at second base? Because this is an interesting one. There's not really a runaway here.
Yeah, there's not really a runaway, but when I look at it, my eyes can go to Willie Castro every single time. So Willie Castro from the Minnesota Twins is my pick. So obviously not getting RBIs at all, but the OPS is solid, solid average, and he's still hitting for 7 homers. So Willie Castro helped the Twins get somebody in there. That's my pick.
Yeah, I guess we should mention too in the AL, Gleyber Torres leads the vote getting there at second base.
Gleyber
Jackson
Torres having a
Holiday
solid season.
right behind him. Uh, so I also, believe it or not, went Willie Castro. I think it's worth a nod. I think it's
Yeah.
worth the like, hey, this guy, not necessarily a big name, though he was an all-star last year. I do think like getting him back in the all-star game again would be cool. He's just kind of doing it for a Twins team that's like had a super up and down season. But he is one of their consistent bright spots out there
Yep.
in
And
Minnesota.
not to mention, he is an upcoming free agent. So another All Star team, 2 in 2 years. That's going to up the market for the super utility guy.
Yep. Yes, it is. So at third base, we'll go through. Jose Ramirez leads the American League vote getting. Alex Bregman, who's currently injured but was on a tear before his injury, is in second place. Machado and Muncy are 1 and 2 in the National League. I have to assume we both went Jose Ramirez in the American League. That just feels like the
Yeah.
slam dunk
Yeah. When
situation.
Jose.
The National League to me is less clear cut. I think there's a few other guys that maybe I would give a nod to, especially before Muncy. But
Yep.
who did you
Why is
pick?
Muncy in the top two? And again, this is coming from a Braves fan. So leave it in the comments. I am the giraffe neck mark of Braves country, I guess. So, but still, like, how is Max Muncy in the top two of voting? The statistics are not good. They're not that good. It's the
Yeah.
Dodger bias. It's people that want to vote Ohtani and they see the LA logo and they're just gonna vote Muncy. It's and again, Max Muncy, the Dodger Max Muncy. This is no shade towards you. You know I don't like you anyway, but no shade towards you. I just think it's Manny Machado, and you look at the stats, and I think Austin Riley still deserves some conversation here.
I'll give
Just saying.
my nod here is actually Gino. It's Eugenio
Okay, yeah.
Suarez
Eugenio
out there,
Suarez still a good pick.
out in Arizona for a lot of the same reasons as Alonso. He just is hitting home runs
Yep.
very frequently, and I think if Suarez is a Dodger, right, he is maybe
Easy pick.
leading the National
Yeah.
League in votes. It just happens that he's not like on a great team out in Arizona this year. He could be a guy maybe that's moved at the deadline. We don't know, but
Yep.
it would be something that would be my lean, at least. Like Machado is great, and I do think that he will eventually get there. My personal lean is Eugenio Suarez, just
Okay.
because he's having a pretty good season for him.
Yeah,
He's
not a bad
never going to be an average guy, but he is hitting for power.
Yeah, not a bad pick. I'm just going Machado again. I think I'm still more of an average guy at heart, even though I know that's not the game anymore. So I'm still going Machado with the average. Still 11 bombs, 45 RBIs, 880 OPS. So still
Yeah.
solid. I mean, but Eugenio Suarez, still good pick.
Yeah. All right. Our next place here is some shortstop. In the American League, the top vote getters are Jacob Wilson and Bobby Witt. In the National League, it looks like it's Francisco Lindor and Mookie Betts. Who do you have in either one? I'll let you pick.
Well, I'll go American League first because I think this one's easy. Jacob Wilson. Give the rookie or give the young kid who is on a freaking tear hitting 361 with 8 homers, like, get the kid to the All Star game. And a lot of people are voting that way. So thank you. But then on the National League side, I'm going Trey Turner. Like
Yeah.
Trey Turner is quietly having an amazing season for a really good Phillies team that is second place in the NL East right now. And the other two guys, amazing players. Mookie Betts, amazing player. You obviously have Francisco Lindor, amazing player. Both on two big market teams, both on two winning teams that lead their division in the National League. But Trey Turner, I think, is having a better season than both of them.
I'll give you the other guy that's having a better season than both. I also went Trey Turner, but I do think the other guy that somehow is quietly having maybe the best shortstop season in the National League, and you didn't even mention him. So shame on you. But Ellie De La Cruz it somehow is forgotten. He has 16 home runs. He's hit like 4 in the last 4 days. So like that number has ballooned.
Yeah.
But he's having kind of an insane season. He's got 50 RBIs as a shortstop. It's the middle of June. Like he's tracking to have 100, 120 pretty easily. It's kind of a wild season for Ellie. He's on the cover of the show, and people just don't really pay attention to him because he's out in Cincinnati. He's just not getting
Yeah,
votes.
I mean, I'll even say, like, I didn't go with Ellie. Yeah, the OPS number was there. Yeah, the RBI number was there, but I really didn't go with Ellie more from the fact of I think in my personal watching of Ellie De La Cruz, he hasn't been as explosive or as not necessarily a character, but he hasn't been that I'm changing the baseball game player. At least in the games that I've watched this season, is what I've seen him do in the past.
Yeah.
And so that makes me think that, oh, hey, maybe MLB the Show curse again. Some of the statistics are good, but it's not maybe the same Ellie De La Cruz I saw maybe 2 years ago. So that's why I went Trey Turner.
That's fair. That's fair enough. The other guy I think that it's worth giving a nod to, CJ Abrams, quietly
Yep,
having a pretty good season out there
improving
in
defensively too.
Washington. I don't think that it's like vote him into the All-Star game necessarily, but it is a nice season that like he would probably be the fourth or fifth shortstop. And maybe, I mean, if we're honest, he's having a better season than Mookie is, but Mookie
Yeah,
happens to be playing for the Dodgers. Like if Mookie was in Washington and CJ Abrams again is a shortstop for the Dodgers, I mean, there's a good shot Abrams is leading and it's not close. It's a runaway train of votes. So,
yeah.
uh well, we can talk about the, you know, popularity contest of the All-Star game maybe at a different time. Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? All that stuff. Let's go first though into catchers. The American League. I mean, it's Cal Raleigh. If we're
It's Cal Raleigh.
if we're honest with ourselves, and the National League again, if we're honest with ourselves, is Will Smith, the most underrated catcher in baseball. I assume we're
Again,
both in agreement on that. They both
yeah.
have the top vote getting as of today. Carson Kelly and Alejandro Kirk. Nice seasons. They're in second place
Carson
behind.
Kelly's kind of fallen off.
He
I
has.
think if he was still like playing every other game and every other game he's hitting 2 bombs with 5 RBIs, Like, I think there's a chance that, like, I would want to say get Carson Kelly to the All-Star game because he's like the super utility catcher that just is on a tear. And what would happen if he played 162 games?
Yeah.
But he has fallen off. I think the average has fallen all the way down to like 240 now. So yeah, it's a one horse race in catcher in the National League. But I will say, get Drake Baldwin as the right end. This is not again Sean Murphy. I want Sean Murphy to stay brave. Love Sean Murphy. I have to say that. But Drake Baldwin, Rookie of the Year candidate in Atlanta. Get him to the All-Star game. Vote Braves.com/vote. Go right in Drake Baldwin at catcher. Please and thank you.
I'll give you a guy that's even easier to vote for that you should do instead of Drake Baldwin. It's Hunter Goodman.
Yep, Hunter Goodman,
He
another
is
one. But again, I already
maybe
know
the
he's
one
going to get
Rocky
in because he's probably
All-Star,
going
and
to
he's
be the
just
one
getting
guy from the Rockies.
snubbed. But yeah, do what you want. You're your own
One
person.
Rocky has to get in, so it's going to be Hunter Goodman.
Yeah,
That or Jake Burton. But relievers don't really get in unless you're a closer. So it's going to be Hunter Goodman.
Yeah. So, do what you want. You're your own person. Who are we? We're just two idiots on the internet talking to baseball about you, which, by the way, you've made 54 minutes into this episode. Shout out you guys. Maybe comment a player. Comment your favorite player. If you've made it to this point, we'll pin you. Let's go to the outfield. We'll wrap it up here. The top three in the National League. It's PCA, it's Kyle Tucker, it's Teoscar Hernandez. That feels crazy. And then in the National League, it's Aaron Judge, Riley Green, Mike Trout are the top three vote getters in the AL. Outfield is always tough because you have three of them, but also there's like 800 of them on the ballot.
Yep.
I guess let's start National League first. There's an interesting conversation to be had. I think we're all aware of Ronald Acuna hasn't played the full season, but man, he's come back. He's hit 8 bombs. He's hitting 390. I mean, it's not a full season, but is that enough to get into the All-Star game? Maybe. You're a Braves fan, so your answer is yes. But like, if you took the Braves bias
the game's
out
in
of it,
Atlanta. He's one of the biggest superstars in baseball. He's playing amazingly, even on a shortened season so far. My answer, as a biased Braves fan, is an absolutely yes. So yes, Ronald Acuna Jr. is one of my picks.
Okay. Who are your other two National Leaguers?
I've got James Wood and Pete Crow Armstrong.
Okay. I agree with you on PCA. I think he is having the season it feels like what we kind of thought Ellie De La Cruz's season was going to feel like from like an electricity standpoint, even though numbers wise, they're basically having the same season. Mm-hmm. PCA has a couple more home runs, but it just feels like he's having a bigger impact maybe on games. And maybe part of that is, hey, the Cubs are better than the Reds, and the Reds have had stretches where the offense hasn't been there. That's fully possible. I'll admit that. But I do have PCA. My other guy, Corbin Carroll. Hell of a bounce back year.
Absolutely.
I think there's like 7 outfielders that you could pick in both leagues if we're all super honest with ourselves. I'm going Corbin Carroll for my third. He wasn't great last year. He's been pretty good this year. He's got 20 home runs already, which feels wild because I think of him more as like a speed guy. But he can kind of whack it around the yard a little bit.
Yeah, he can.
He's got, the big alleys out there, so he's just ripping it into gaps and hitting homers and just flying around the field. He's a fun guy to watch. One of my like top 5 players to just sit down and watch when he's on TV.
Oh yeah, seeing him run around, that and Jarren Duran run like a lizard. Those are the like 2 guys that I love seeing run. Like if I want to see somebody run, I'm turning on one of those 2 guys.
Yeah. Let's go AL outfield here. Aaron Judge is getting picked because
that's his choice.
We've talked about it. 26 home runs. He's hitting 366. Feels like the him hitting 400 dream is dead at this point.
Yeah,
RIP that dream. But, still like an incredible season is happening out there in New York, even though they're incapable of any kind of offense right now. Who are your other 2 AL outfielders?
Well, it's funny that you ask, and it's funny that you asked the question about the most complete team in baseball earlier, because I'm going to Detroit Tigers for my other two picks. So I've got Riley Green and Javier Baez, surprisingly.
Okay. We have a short about that somewhere. If you're still here, click over to the Instagram, link in the description. One of the first ones we made was about Javi Baez, and then he went on a generational cold streak because he's Javi Baez. But he has picked it back
Maybe
up
there's a
recently.
baseball adjacent jinx. Who knows?
Yeah, we don't know. Let's not start that. That would be bad news. I'll give you, I went Riley Green, and then I think this is a little bit of bias, but also not that much bias. Going Josh Smith as the other outfielder. He's listed as an outfielder here. I think the Rangers, that's like the one all-star we likely get. Uh,
Mhm.
because I mean, we probably get a starting pitcher or two, but position players, that's the one we have a shot at. I think that's kind of my lean there. Anyway, he's had a good enough season, and he kind of plays all over the place, and I think that's worth noting. I think the other guy that I left off for that is Buxton out in
Yeah,
Minnesota.
Byron Buxton.
He's had,
So
for the first time in a while, like kind of a complete season or a complete half season without injury. So
yeah, I mean, he's made some great plays in the field. He's electric for a Minnesota Twins team, like we've talked about. Kind of been up and down, and they kind of follow what Buxton's doing. When he's playing really well, that team's winning. When he's not playing really well, that team's losing. So, yeah, I mean, Byron Buxton was my other pick, if not going for Javi Baez. And again, like I'm going to the All Star game, so I kind of want to even see the meme of Javi Baez playing center field for the American League. Like that's part of in the dream there.
it could be very electric. Let's move on. Last position here, designated hitter. It got a little bit more complicated after the Devers trade because we went from having two clear cut ones to like maybe just one. The National League, now that Devers is in the National League, is Ohtani and Devers. And that's an interesting conversation, I suppose. In the American League, suddenly it's Ryan O'Hearn and Ben Rice. Mike Tauchman's in third place for the White Sox. Wild times out in
Wild
the
times in the American
designated
League.
hitter department. Who are your leans for
So, I mean, National League, sorry, Rafael Devers. It's Shohei Ohtani. It's the realistic choice because of the fan vote and what he's going to get. Rafi Devers is still going to get in the All Star game. But again, with that, like I know the rule, he's going to have to play for the National League, but you played most of your season in the American League. Hey, just
yeah?
put the other jersey on
Go put
and
the
go over
Red
there and play
Sox
for
hat
the National
again.
League.
I'm sure he'd love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then make him go play first because
Yeah,
he's willing to do it now. But yeah, no, it's going to be Shohei Ohtani. We've already talked about Ohtani being the global superstar and things like that, and he's performing amazingly. And he's back on the mound. He's not going to pitch in the All Star game, but
yeah.
it's Shohei Ohtani. And then from the American League side, it's Ryan O'Hearn. Like he's one of the bigger bats that's going to be on the market by the trade deadline. And
Mhm.
maybe we have something else that happens again. Maybe O'Hearn gets dealt early before the All Star game to a National League team or something. And now we do have Mike
And now
Talkman.
we're wheels off.
Yeah, we're wheels off, and Mike Talkman's the DH as the one Chicago White Sox representative, and he actually then gets voted in instead of just having to be picked because you had to pick a White Sox. So,
Yep.
I mean, I will say Mike Talkman, like for how bad the DH side kind of looks, like Mike Talkman's having a respectable season,
Yeah.
just probably not all star level season. And Ryan O'Hearn is definitely having an all star level season and putting himself in a position to be traded to a fairly competitive team to go make a run here soon. So Ryan O'Hearn and Shohei Ohtani are my two picks.
Yeah, those are mine as well. O'Hearn, I mean, he won a player of the week at some point for us, which by the way, our player of the week on our Instagram once again. Uh
Shout out Gage Wood.
yeah,
He made the
shout out
MLB
Gage
Player of the
Wood.
Week this week.
Given America a Woody, really, if you really break it down to a fundamental level. But Ryan O'Hearn having himself one hell of a season again, and it feels out of nowhere, but also if you look up the baseball reference page, it's really not that out of nowhere because he's had a now we're looking at like a third or fourth consecutive pretty good season in a row. And he's
Hmm.
just not a guy that when you're listing guys in that tier of baseball, that you're like, yeah, I need a left handed bat that's going to hit 280 and pop me 20 home runs. Ryan O'Hearn's not a name that really comes up, at least like immediately when you first think about it. But he could get a nice deal this offseason.
Yeah.
He could get like paid potentially, not long term. And that's a conversation for another day because the first base market is real interesting.
Yep.
It's he's played himself into potentially a pretty nice deal, if we're honest.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously got to see where he goes at the trade deadline because I think that's obviously going to be what happens there. But yeah, he'll be somebody that's sought after pretty heavily in both the trade market and then once he becomes a free agent here at the end of the year. Like that bat will play. He can play the corner outfield spots too, so there's flexibility. He can DH. He can play first. So Ryan O'Hearn, maybe one of the more underrated players in baseball right now, and because he's not the big name, but he's producing and has for 4 years.
He is producing. I'll give you the one other guy I would think about. Brent Rooker, nice season
Yep.
out there in Oakland slash Vegas slash Sacramento slash just the Athletics, is
Give me
having a
Give
pretty
me
good.
Rooker in Atlanta. I know I've said that off camera to you a lot, Josh, but give me Brent Rooker in Atlanta after Ozuna is gone. I've been saying that.
Yeah, so that's our All-Star game. I guess quickly here, just to close it out, and we'll deep dive into this maybe in a different video, but just like yay or nay on the All-Star game jerseys and hats. You have some kind of you're a Braves fan, so it's in your city, so
Yeah.
like good
And
vibes, bad
I've
vibes.
seen all the stuff in the clubhouse store because as of this Mets series, a lot of the stuff is there now. You can't customize it. You can't get certain player names and stuff on jerseys yet. Like all that stuff's coming once we actually know who's on the team. And you can't customize them yet, but you will be able to. But you can at least go in the Braves clubhouse store and see the Atlanta Braves hat. You can see the All Star Game logo on the hat. And you can see the American League and National League jersey because they have both of them in there. Um, I just, in terms of the jersey, I don't like them. I think I like the jerseys better than I like the hats. I'm not a fan of the kind of third panel right here with the two
Yeah,
stars on it. I think if you made it just a typical hat and then you put the stars similar to what they've done in the past, put the stars on the logo or around the logo there without the third patch, I think I'd be significantly happier. But yeah, the jerseys unfortunately kind of let me down. It's like I actually kind of wanted to spend money to get an Atlanta All-Star Game jersey of a National League jersey, and it's just I've seen so many renderings that look so much better. It's like, why did we choose that?
sure.
It doesn't seem like it has any significance to Atlanta. I haven't even heard what the AL and the NL like kind of topography is supposed to be. I mean, my best guess is maybe some like graffiti that you would find in Atlanta or something. But it just to me it doesn't even scream Atlanta other than Atlanta Braves colors of the jersey.
Yeah. And I guess we'll leave it there. Maybe comment if you made it this far. Do you like the jerseys or not? Tier list video coming soon. All-Star game jerseys of all time. That could be sick. We'll get on the City Connect one also at some point as well. I think that's gonna do it. We're an hour plus into this thing. We got to wrap it up at some point because I think we both need to sleep. If we're honest with
Yeah, we do.
ourselves here, it's a late night episode because we're late night kind of guys. So speaking of late night people, if you made it to the end of the episode, comment late night Lamont Wade because that's the guy that I think about. He's the Pac-12 After Dark MLB guy for me. So thank you guys for watching. We'll catch y'all in the next one.